Cool. Here we go. The keeper of the ball. Addison was born on the 23rd of October, 1940. And a month later, his town got electricity for the first time. His parents named him Addison in honor of Thomas Alva Edison, the inventor of the electric light bulb. When he was 4, his family moved to the small Brazilian city of Bauru. They made a new home in a humble neighborhood on the outskirts. Their house was small, but they had a nice yard where sweet sugar cane and juicy mangoes grew. And there were plenty of kids in the neighborhood to play with. Addison and his friends were always coming up with new games to play and fun things to do. Oops. They would dig underground hideouts, swim in the river, or swing from the vines that hung from the trees. But the thing that Addison liked best of all was football. "Can I play?" he would ask the bigger kids as they kicked a ball around. "No, you're too young," scoffed one. "And too skinny," laughed another. This hurt Addison's feelings, but he decided to stay positive. "If they won't let me play in their games, I'll organize my own," he told his little brother, Zoka. Real footballs were expensive, so Addison got a sock and stuffed it with rags and bits of paper to make a ball. "It's almost round," he said as he gave it as a little bounce. It took his ball outside and began kicking it down the dusty streets. "Hey, Addison has a ball!" shouted a kid. "Can we play?" Before long, he was surrounded by a small crowd of friends. "Yes, let's make teams," he grinned. The kids used old shoes to mark out the goals of what they called the Rubens Arruda Street Stadium, with one at each end of the road. Then their first game began. Addison had a wonderful time running up and down the street, kicking and dribbling the lumpy ball and trying to tackle when somebody got it off him. They played until the sun went down and the lights turned on in the houses. The kids' mothers were calling them for dinner, but they didn't want to stop the game. When Addison finally came home, he was sweaty but grinning. The boy held his sock ball as if it was a trophy. Dona Celeste frowned when he walked inside. His mom was strict, but she loved him so much. "You should have been doing your homework," she told him sternly. "Football is a waste of time," she glared at Addison's father, who was reading the newspaper at the table. Don Dino just shrugged. He had been a very good footballer in his day, and had even played for an important team before a knee injury ended his career. "If our boy loves the game, what harm can he do?" He laughed and ruffled Addison's hair. Dona Celeste thought for a moment. "Well, it's better for him to be playing a sport than getting into trouble," she mused. "All right, he can play football, if he does all his homework and lets a little Joka play in his games too." Addison grinned. From that day on, he played as often as he could. He always had a Joka on his team, even though his brother was still littler and sometimes cried when he was tackled or missed a pass. The boys from Reuben's Auda Street got better at kicking their homemade ball and learned some cool tricks. One day, Addison came up with a way to make their games even more fun. We should start our own team, he announced. A proper one. How can you do that? Protested Tocino. We can't afford uniforms. Addison waved his hands. Don't worry about that. We can sell our scrap iron and peanuts to pay for a strip. But what about getting a proper ball? Asked Zeporto, his eyebrow raised. Addison winked at him. I have a plan for that. You know those football stickers we collect? The boys nodded. Everyone loved collecting stickers of top players. If we get an album and fill it with all the rarest stickers, we can trade for a leather football, Addison declared. The neighborhood boys were excited. They shared their collections of, and Addison hunted down rare stickers from collectors all over town. The team sold the scrap iron they found and the peanuts that they borrowed from a warehouse, but they still didn't have enough money for a complete kit. We can't afford shirts, socks, or boots, Addison told him. But there's enough for vest and shorts. Hey, at least we have a uniform now, the boys cheered. One more thing, Tim, said Addison. I have something special to show you. He took a football from behind his back. The boys stared in wonder. It was a real one with air inside instead of rags and paper. They were now a proper team. Addison named them Settembro after the street of the end of their road. But the other teams called them the shoeless ones because they couldn't afford boots and played barefoot. They challenged other kids to games and often won. They were very proud of their successes and their hard-won uniforms too. Addison was the captain and the keeper of the ball. That meant he got to keep the ball at his house because he had collected the stickers to get it. One morning, some workers from the city council came to clear the weeds on Reuben's Auda Street at lunchtime. They ate their food and talked about the local football team's latest match. Addison had an idea. He went up to the foreman of the group. What do you want? The big man asked, surprised at being interrupted by a skinny 10-year-old. We're the Settembro team, Addison announced proudly, and we would like to challenge you to a game of football. The workers grinned and agreed to play against the kids. Once their work was done, they gathered on the pitch marked out on the road. Addison marched his team out in their uniforms, and the game was on. The grown-up workers were bigger and stronger than the boys, but they were impressed by the youngsters' skills. Neighbors came outside to watch as their team played a great game up and down the road. They cheered at each tackle and shot on goal. The match only ended with the ball hit the power lines and it knocked out all the electricity on the street. Bzz. Hey Addison, since you're so brilliant, can you also make the lights work? Laughed Zeperto. The boys shook hands with the workers, who thanked them for a good game. When Addison came home, tired and happy, Domingo grinned at him and said, "You really love the game, and I'm proud of how much spirit you have. I'll teach you some tricks that will make you an even better player." As they went into the yard and began kicking the ball around, Addison told his father, "One day, I want to be as great a player as you are." His dad laughed. "Who knows? You might be even better